So it's my pleasure to bring you Frenchy Cannoli and his presentation. I'm going to butcher this, Terroir and the Appellation d'Origine, Pathway to Quality, Protecting the Heritage of the Emerald Triangle. The presentation will cover the French concept of terroir and the legal structure of designation of origin that protects geographical names in marketing and defines quality standards worldwide. I am so happy to bring you Frenchy Cannoli.
Thank you for having me. And this is something that is very special to me. And I'm really have to congratulate Janine for what she does, what she did, because it's a concept that has been very difficult to express here in America. You don't have that relation with the origin of a product. And for me, it's really part of my culture. It's like I don't even have to think of it. And it's an education that I have received. And that education was mostly built up by the wine industry and the food industry at the birth of it in the mid-18th century. So to give you an idea of the evolution of wine, it started basically 10,000 years ago. And these are already like some serious structure of winery. And it was considered a gift from the gods, because we didn't know the process of fermentation until the end of the 18th century. So that far back in time, it was so precious and so magical that only the god could make it. From that, it became, let's say, more popular. And on one side, it became a sacramental wine for Christianity. But at the same time, it became popular enough that wine was a necessity in life. Not only in warfare and to keep your army happy, but also as a medicine. It was the only antiseptic and disinfectant available until the birth of medicine, really. And that means that for millennium, people would drink wine with water to be able to sanitize water. And so it was a necessity, but behind this, it was very difficult to keep the quality of wine. It would turn to vinegar very easily. As soon as there is a little bit too much air into a containment chamber with wine, it is going to turn to vinegar. The only places where a certain knowledge and relation and dedication to quality was in mostly in monasteries. But it was in monasteries mainly because you have to remember that Europe was really a war zone for millennium, literally. The only places that were not destroyed by any invading army were monasteries, because everybody was scared of the Christian Pope and excommunication. So they were the only ones that had a certain amount of historical dedication to making palatable wine. And then one day came the end of the monopoly. Tea, coffee, and chocolate appear on the market. That means that you do not need to use wine to sanitize water, you boil it. And not only that, tea, coffee, and chocolate are pretty much a different type of drugs. So it really changed more than the habit of drinking, that input of speed in a life of the Western world. And also at the same time, wine had the competition with beer and hard liquor. That means that not only they lost that ability to be, that potency to be used to sanitize water, but they literally couldn't compete on a buzz side. A lot of people would rather drink hard liquor to get drunk or heavy beer than wine, especially when the wine is hardly palatable most of the time. So the wine industry finds themselves into how do you say that? A street with no end. They had to reinvent themselves. And Paul Lucas really put it very simply in one sentence. Wine would have never become popular if it didn't provide pleasure. But where are the pleasure of the wine if it's not to get drunk? Well, it's all about a question of palate. You don't drink wine to get drunk or to sanitize water anymore. You drink wine for the experience that wine is giving you, that degustative experience that is everything that the wine now is offering. And it all started in Bordeaux. Through those millennium of making wine, there were a few wines that were starting to stand out year after year. And that whole hierarchy of quality that was created in Bordeaux, because if you want to create an object of luxury and quality, first you have to define what you have, your quality, what every new wine or new product will have to look to define if they are quality enough. So it all started on a long-standing reputation for quality of the producing region. The second aspect was people wanted to find a consistent characteristic in a wine that came from a specific region or domain. And that public recognition had to be a worldwide recognition. From this, they created a hierarchy of wine. I will show you the terroir or Bordeaux in a few slides. In 160 years, they made two additions actually to that hierarchy. So they didn't have the science. They didn't even know yet what was fermentation. They didn't know how to age. They had like nothing to base themselves but the feedback of their customer, literally. And the terroir was born because it's all about the terroir. It's all about the origin. And terroir is a word very difficult to translate. And I think the best translation I have ever heard is the taste of a place, because it is truly that. It's made of 4 elements. You have first the land. The land is the life giver, and the land is the soil. The soil is a co-evolution of living organisms and a planet over billions of years. It's precious. It's very, 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 very precious. And life wouldn't exist on a planet if you didn't have that living organism that created the soil that you support all life. this is the beginning of everything. This is like where appellation stand, that the true foundation, the element that change, that can alter living organisms. And so it's made of a living soil. Sorry, I didn't use that one. And then you have the climate. The climate is a second element that really shape living organisms. It's the true life shaper. And it's made of many components, but it's mostly temperature and rainfall define the agricultural region and living region. The other elements are living organisms, and the whole power of the land and the climate apply on the planet. For the living organisms to survive something like this through evolution, they needed power. And there is two magical evolutionary power that every living organism owns. There is an epigenetic memory. That means that in this lifetime, whatever is really a struggle will become easier in the next generation, because you can literally change your DNA to adapt. And then there is a second tool that you have in your own lifetime. It's called phenotypic plasticity. You have the ability as a living organism to become a phenotype. But like me as a human being, cannabis, grape, all the plant, all living organisms. That's the power we have to be able to survive evolution. And the name of the game, it's diversity. So the cultivars are very important into that four elements, but you have to understand that that cultivar is really shaped and nourished and was born from the soil and the climate. And then you have the farmer. And for the French, it goes a little, it was way beyond actually the farmer. It's that whole community that supports the farmers, that is part of that fourth element of what the terroir is. And everything is about quality and uniqueness. And the first appellation was actually Roquefort. That was in 1411, where the French flipped out so much on that cheese that they protected it through a decree on the parliament. It's a pretty big deal, like 1411, that's a pretty long time ago. That's a serious visionary approach to food. The food industry wasn't really born. So the wine appellation birth wasn't just a nice delivery, easy. It took a lot of time. It started in 1905 when the first law on viticulture designation were created. Then it took 14 years before the protection of this place of origin came into play. And another almost 26 before it became something national, where the French government was, with all its power, was behind the farmer, protecting the geographical name, because that's everything in as a Frenchman. Your origin, that name, that geographical name means a lot. It's like the whole French country, we don't speak the same language. We have very, very different dialect. That whole corner of northern France was German and English for hundreds of years. So it's like France, it's not, and most of Europe, it's made of diversity and culture. And in France, we brought that to a level where it became an heritage. So the protection of traditional production practices of every one of those regions became something very, very, very important, protecting craft and craftsmanship. Then it's our national heritage. France wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for those amazing goodness coming from every part of France. And it is shown on our label. So I want you to look at that label and look at one of your cannabis label. Like if it's not a flower, and not even every flower, you don't know where it's coming from. There is no hash maker, no extractor, no edible. There is nothing that is taken from the plant and made into a byproduct that give you an idea of the methodologies, the place where it was grown, the true quality of the product. It's hidden. It becomes a brand. This is a brand. The brand is where it comes from, especially here in California, when you have 3 counties that are known worldwide for their quality, and you don't show that your product comes from those places. I don't know, for a Frenchman, it goes against everything I understand about quality and origin. So those geographical indications were a big success story, and not only for the French, for the whole European agriculture, and it's been duplicated worldwide. So now let's talk terroir. This is the terroir. This is Bordeaux. It's an alluvial plain. There is nothing here but flatness and vineyard. You see all those colors? Those colors represent the hierarchy of quality made 160 years ago. And the only change that were made, some were a little bit more complicated that was believed at the beginning. And terroirs are so intricate that they disappear and reappear into different places. So this is a terroir, again, it's a whole valley, but there is much more geographical, comment on dit ça, mountain, and I'm not sure how to, it's like it's not really just a flat alluvial plain. There is actually definition in between places, and you see how it jumps places. It's not together anymore. Terroir, it's not a region. Terroir is very, very small place that has been defined through the application of 6 science. And to give you a different vision of what is a region, it's how you created your appellation here in California. It's not defined by the terroir, you define your appellation by the region. It's very much, it's very, very different. It's not as crazy accurate, but the wine industry needed a certain elbow room to be able to create the wine and the quality they created. Appellations are very, very inclusive. There is a lot of limitation that apply to those, but it's not. It's a standardization to protect the traditional form of agriculture and the traditional form of producing, crafting product from those agricultural products. So it's mostly a protection of that dedication and craftsmanship toward quality. Cannabis terroir. Is there a cannabis terroir? I'm pretty sure I did make a lot of people laugh actually with it, even in the cannabis industry, but for agricultural products, terroir is the goal. It's something that is so precious, that is very protected. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to flip out when we present cannabis terroir. But not so long ago, even in the wine industry, the terroir, because terroir is not only those four elements, the land, the climate, the plant, and the farmer. The terroir for us also is how it mirror into the appreciation, the degustation of the product. It becomes the taste of the place at the same time that's the origin of the product. And living organism has that power to create phenotype, to be able to survive evolution. And cannabis has been very good at it. And it's been very attractive to human beings because it gives us more than one product. It gives us a psychoactive and a medicinal byproduct. It gives us a nutrition, and it gives us fiber that has been very important in the evolution of humanity. And you have to realize that cannabis was born basically 28 million years ago in the high Tibetan plateau and was moved toward Europe by the migration of herbivores, because they're the best propagator of seed plants, but also because humulus hops plants and cannabis, when cannabis and humulus evolved and separated, they had a genetic deal between themselves. Cannabis wouldn't grow into humulus territory that were Eastern China. So it really moved toward Europe and the Mediterranean Sea and was in Europe for million years before the apparition of human being. And through all that time, they created so many phenotype and subspecies that until not so long ago, we actually believed that cannabis was made of 3 subspecies, and there is still argument about it. The plant has the ability to adapt to a level that is amazing, and today it's growing from South Africa to Alaska. And let's now talk about the heritage we have here in California. This can become the Bordeaux of the cannabis industry that is not yet born. And California be the France of the cannabis industry that we are trying to create. And it's not that the Emerald Triangle is specifically good for cannabis. There is many regions of the world where you can grow amazing cannabis. The difference with the Emerald Triangle, there been a few generations of dedicated cannabis farmers that have brought plants in the Emerald Triangle and southern Oregon, and those plants year after year became what I would call heirloom. When the plant is starting that adaptation, it's been going into its epigenetic memory, and it become local, literally. There is a lot of difference between any cultivar grown into different places. That's why a pure landrace from India will never have the same expression anywhere else on the planet. In India, in the same field, in the same valley, you can literally have full field smelling different when it's not one cultivar, one of the plants that give you the overall smell. It's a cocktail of terpene profile, but the cocktail of terpene profile of different fields in the same valley are different. And when you go different valley, it goes even further. And here in the Emerald Triangle, when it's grown by a farmer, you can literally test the farmer. It has like that terpene profile signature that make it unique, and that's the name of the game. That's what is important. It's that touching the palate of somebody and bringing something new to it that is so amazing that you become a strong memory in the brain of that person. It's like the strongest memory that you form. It's taste and smell. To define a terroir in France, you have first the science of the soil, but it's made of two sciences. It's made of the constituent, the science of the constituent of the soil, and the science of the living organism of the soil. And then you have agronomy, history, geography, sociology, ethnography. So you see, it's like when you get out of the soil, it becomes living organism social. It's like as much as we are shaped by our environment, there is a level of mastering your habitat and creating something greater than what was given to you when you set foot on that land. And that's very much what a farmer is. A farmer is give as much as he receives. Otherwise, you kill your soul. And what you really, really, really need to avoid at all costs, it's killing your living organism, the life that really feeding you, that created life. So cannabis appellation, we have basically two choices. Or we play it hard way, and appellation stands for a product that is done following well-established technique within a geographical area. And it gives this product specific characteristic, uniqueness. To give you an idea, there is a person growing lavender in the Mecca of lavender in south of France. That person is an appellation d'origine protégée. His lavender is so unique that there is no lavender in the world that compared to it. That means that his relation with the land, the product, and everything bring an osmosis that create uniqueness every time. It became a symbol, it became an European symbol. So it's like, if the cannabis industry would go or had gone or will go, I'm not very sure, because it's all, the plant is not even legalized. We are not really an agricultural product. We're on Schedule 1. So everything that happened here in California, it's an appetizer of what can become. And we are very dependent on the state of California to understand how precious that heritage is. To play it the French way would be amazing. It would be very difficult. It would be very restrictive. And it would also break ground for every other small farming in America. It would give value to small farmer, because it's, for us, it's agriculture in America. It's mass production, huge farm, all mechanized. And this is killing the life that we have in the soil, that become dust and worthless. So it would be something really amazing and very worthwhile for the farming community in general. And it would give us more power as a community to be able to work with other small farmers working in different agricultural products. Or we do it the Californian way, and California is very good at it. But if we do it the Californian way, you need to make appellation standardization that is so on point that the world over will want to use those appellations the same way than the French did. To be able to be relevant in hundreds of years, you need to create the world standard. You need to create the vocabulary. You need to actually define the hierarchy of qualities that you have. You need to define how much value you have in the hand of your small farmer. You need to standardize that quality, and you need a certain type of scoring system, like in the wine industry, to be able to define the greatest to the lowest quality. And the whole story is, are we going to do quality, or are we going to produce quantity? And there is way to produce only quality. I can take only my own country as an example. France was pushed in a certain way to create quality. Bordeaux was the biggest world exporter of wine. So when the game changed, France could have disappeared of the world map on it. No, they became the center of it. We don't make the best wine anymore. We don't produce mass quantity of wine, but we will always be relevant because we made that game. Everything is ours. We created it all. That's what we can do. And it's not that I'm dreaming, because if I take Morocco as an example, Morocco didn't produce hashish before the late 60s. Their territory, it's that little red circle, they've been producing hashish in that little territory since the late 60s. This is not much bigger than all agricultural, all little farm put together, basically, because there it's pretty dense. Morocco produced 35% of the world production in a very bad condition. But if America, California, if you want to play the quantity game, this is what you're going to work against it. And that's a little farm. And here you see somewhere around 500,000 plants. Altogether, the farmer has 3 million plants, watered, all feminized seed. So the competition is going to be pretty heavy. But every producing country in the world has been producing quantity for millennia. It is not going to be easy to produce quality when you have been doing the opposite for millennia. There is not one country producing cannabis that is dedicated to quality. To be able to produce quality, you need to have the land, the climate, the genetic, the farmer, and the know-how, and the community to support the farmer. You have it all. And not only you have that, but they are recognized worldwide for their quality. So if you were playing the French game and the European game, there is only one place in the world that has a right to be looked at for their terroir. It's the Emerald Triangle. Sorry, no. Actually, there is a second one, a little valley in India. So it's like, this is huge. This is the industry of tomorrow. You have everything that the French industry are in sped to be able to create the most valid industry for the future. There is a blueprint in the history book. And on top of that, we have the science to help us to get there. So it's like it's really much a question of having the eye open and understanding the value of those EP in the mountain that have been victimized for 50 years. Those people are the source of world recognition and a multi-billion-dollar industry. Look at your history book. Thank you very much.
Wow, Frenchie, that was amazing. I'm going to save the chat for you. There's a lot of questions in there. Can you see the Q&A?
Let me get back out of that and maximize you. Share screen. No.
So it's just to a little bit to the right of the share screen. See where it says 3 on the Q&A. There's 3 questions queued up for you.
Yeah, let me do full screen. Yeah, Q&A question, I see there. So my question relates to terroir and appellation d'origine. And established within the Emerald Triangle, do you foresee other regions within the US being able? Yes. So in France, it all started with Bordeaux. But every region have created their own. So yes, it should start. Technically speaking, if we play it like the European way, it should start only with Northern California and Southern Oregon. Then once we can create something that is valid, yes, it can go to all the region of California. There is a starting point. And you need to be recognized for your quality before they're going to give you the time of the day. But if it starts for California in the Emerald Triangle, well, it starts in America, it starts for the world. It's like it's you that can define the regulation that will make it happen, literally. and every region is going to be very, very different because every region is a terroir to a certain point. There is not one plant that was born in two places of the planet. The terroir and the land are so powerful. So it's like, yes, if you grow in Colorado, that altitude gives you a lot of power. You may not be able to express it in Appellation sun-grown outdoor, but what we create for the sun-grown and the outdoor, it's something that you can take and duplicate and use for indoor and greenhouse. You cannot say terroir, you cannot talk about origin, but the standardization that we use that is dedicated to quality may apply.
Frenchie, could you read the question out loud? Because I'm not sure if they can see the questions.
So that was the first question. If it could be applied to other states and other region of California and other states in America. Yes, and worldwide. Do you envision departure of EVA for cannabis and one? Maybe I should. Well, an appellation is an appellation. It's going to be very much like AVA, yeah, to a point. Except that I hope we do better because we can do better. And we have more diversity to start with, and we own our genetic. We have heirloom that have been growing here. The wine industry started from scratch. So I mean, we have a big advantage on the wine industry. And we have people from the wine industry that created AVA that are helping us to create Californian appellation. But to create what will be worthwhile to be duplicated worldwide, we need a lot of work, and we need to really understand that it's all a dedication toward quality. Third question. You know, I'm not the best to read in English with my accent.
Okay, do you want me to read it to you?
Yes.
Okay, Claire Erickson, we've recently completed a quality study in California in which every sample tested at the retail level was below the 0.55 water activity level to maintain terpene and trichome health. In your opinion, what are the most immediate steps we can take to ensure quality from the farmer to the final consumer?
Change the distribution. It's simple. They're killing us. I have farmers that are so dedicated to their plant, it's unreal, okay? And then you give it to a distribution company that put it in a machine and everything is gone. It's like, you want quality, we need to be able to talk directly. It's like, you cannot buy quality when it's mass produced. You don't buy quality when your flower comes from a trimmer. You don't buy quality when it's a machine putting down the little flower in your container. It's like the amount of love and dedication that we put in our product is destroyed by an entity that is between us and the people who want our product. As long as those people don't behave, we're not going to be able to give you the quality we wish we could.
Yep. Okay, Brian Applegarth asks, could you share your perspective on SB 67 cannabis marketing, appellations of origin, county, city, or city and county of origin?
But you've heard it. It's like the governor and the state of California need to protect the small farmer because they own the future of the cannabis industry. I travel the world. You have stuff in Northern California, it's national treasure. You have an heritage, it's unreal. But those people are victimized. You don't give them the ability to grow, and you have vampire between those farmers and the people who want their stuff. So it's like, as long as you don't protect the land, the genetic, and the know-how of your farmer, you will have a hard time being relevant in the cannabis industry. It's like, you know how much competition Mexico is going to give you? They have every weather to dream of. Your only edge here in America is those small farmers owning genetics that is so unique, it's silly. So it's like, wake up and start protecting instead of starting a new war against them. How many hundreds of millions of dollars are going to be spent this year in California trying to buzz those people because they can't afford their license? Even if they want it, they can't afford it. And when they want and they can afford it, you make everything possible so they cannot. So I'm sorry, it's like, this is the state of California that is really responsible for whatever is going to happen to the future of the industry for the US, literally.
Okay, MB wants to know, once established within the Emerald Triangle, do you foresee other regions within the US being able to integrate into the model as well, specifically areas of Colorado mountains at higher elevations with arid/colder outdoors and growing cultivars that excel and express differently in these conditions and regions?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, that's the beauty of it. It's like if you live in a region, doesn't matter where, even in Alaska, dude, the Manitou style that there is genetic that can adapt to everywhere. This is the name of the game. That plant has not only a very strong epigenetic memory, but in her lifetime, she creates phenotype. That means that you just need to be able to choose the source of your genetic input wisely, and then the plant and you, if you are really in osmosis and good enough, well, the climate and the land where you're going to grow are going to both change you into new phenotype in this lifetime. So yeah, you can have a terroir, my friend.
Yay, everybody gets to play. Brad Bogus wants to know, he said, part of the concept of terroir and appellation in wine seems to be the geographical memory of vines that live for decades in the same land, fruiting every harvest. Cannabis is a plant that is fully cut down every harvest with a clone used to propagate for the next crop. The plant won't have the same geological memory as wine will. How does the concept of terroir or appellation change for cannabis, considering every plant is new, not regenerative like wine? Is there still any sense of memory conveyed from one generation of cannabis plant to another?
Like I say, epigenetic memory, phenotypic plasticity. They don't have one superpower. They have two superpower. And the wine, the characteristic of the land in a wine, it's not the vine grape, my friend. It's the microbial life in the soil that brings the characteristic of the soil inside the fruit, not the plant. It's the life of the soil. It's that so precious living organisms, living soils that give the characteristic to any product. So doesn't matter if you grow that cannabis plant generation after generation in the same place. she's going to become, in the long term, she's going to become a land race. What do you think a land race is? You know, what do you think sativa, what you call sativa in indica is? It's an adaptation of the plant to a very specific point of origin. Well, it doesn't matter, and it's not a question of quantity. There is 10,000 different cultivars of grape, by the way. It's like to have a lot of cultivars and to be able to have every farmer bringing different expression of every one of those cultivars, this is being beyond reach.
So I'm going to ask a loaded question for you, Frenchie. Is it possible to have an indoor terroir?
No, definitely not. You can call it whatever. You create an habitat for the plant, but the terroir is the land, the power of the land. It literally changes your genetic. Dude, you think you get that in a room? And the climate, it literally shapes everything. It's like, do you think that by super controlling your habitat, you are creating a climate? No. But it doesn't mean that it has no value. You know what I mean? It's like, I have a lot of respect for it, but don't ever think that you have a terroir. You're creating an habitat to your plant, which is very different. And by doing this, you're doing magic. Look at the OG. The OG, they come from the same root. There is 2 roots at that genetic. Every OG is different. They're grown indoor. Like San Fernandino Valley is not the same than Tao. Why? Because of the person. It's like you create an habitat that the plant adapts to. You don't have a terroir, but you're creating your own habitat. Find a name for it. Just don't use the word terroir because it represents so much, not only for the French, but in agricultural and context. The ultimate reward for an agricultural product, it's to be recognized as an appellation d'origine contrôlée, that the world know that there is only one person that can do that. It's you in that very specific place because you use such a technique. You know what I mean? So not quite, but you should have your own standardization so that quality stand out, quality is protected. The step to create quality can be duplicated. That, yeah. But you don't have an appellation d'origine. You don't have an origin. You have a room where you create a make-believe habitat. You think the plant doesn't know that it's daytime when you put her to sleep, or there is a full moon, or she's just nice and adapt to whatever you want to have her do indoor. But it's like you don't give the power to the plant to express itself. The outdoor, the plant rule. The plant, it's like even the food that she take, it's a deal with the microbe. You give me the food, I give you the sugar. The expression of the terp is made by all the insects, by everything that the plant literally rule, every other plant, every other living organism around. This you don't mimic indoor. You can create hell of a quality indoor, but you don't have that, what an appellation and a terroir is. Sorry.
That was a beautiful answer. Thank you for that, Frenchie. Do you have any desire to talk about the CSA and the UN conventions?
No, because I don't know enough of it, to tell you the truth. It's like for me, that whole appellation, I'm flipping out because I have a hard time. I have a hard time trying to explain to people how important it is. This is not inclusive. This is a dedication to quality. You just don't put a few regions on a map and that's it. We get it. It's like it's not inclusive. There is a lot of places in California that they add to Nevada. It's like Nevada County, dude. What do they? Where does anybody have heard anything about Nevada County that you tell me? Big Sur, yeah, because there is some reputation about quality. So it's like I understand that it's going to be the Californian way, but at the time I needed to be. I just couldn't talk about it because it really upset me to see the little understanding and appreciation there is, even for people that are playing the game of the terroir, the farmer. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, if it was that easy, if it wasn't really so crazy difficult, well, those products wouldn't be the best of the best of the best worldwide. You know, Roquefort, since 1411. Okay, thank you very much. That's quality, that's dedication. That's a product people would kill to be able to put the name on it. That's what we want for NorCal. That's what we can make. But it's like you need to create something really strong to be able to protect it. And if a decree by the parliament in 1411 did the trick for Roquefort, well, I think our governor and the state of California could make something that compete with that. You know what I mean? It's like we have the mean.
Amen. Thank you so much, Frenchie, for your time and your passion and your wisdom.
Janine is going to give you everything I cannot. She fight like crazy for it, and I love her to death, even if I fight so hard with her.
That's great. And I just want everyone to know that all the sessions are being recorded. And as soon as we get them edited, we'll get them up on the stateofcannabis.org website so you can access the recording of this panel. So yes, Janine, we want to turn on your video and share some wisdom. Thank you, Frenchie. You're amazing. Love you. Can't wait to see you at the Emerald Cup again someday, hopefully soon.
Thank you, Frenchie. Much love. Susan, I'm not seeing the video capability on my panel here. Can you hear me okay, though?
Yeah, I guess I can't, I don't know how to get your video up. So yes, we can hear you very well.
No worries. Well, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I've been crying on and off this whole time listening to Frenchie. So inspiring, and thank you for holding this space for us.
Of course.
Well, I would love to share with everyone, in case you haven't heard, that our legislators from the North Coast representing the Emerald Triangle have put forward Senate Bill 67. So Senator McGuire and Assemblyman Wood, it's an appellations bill, and it seeks to protect everything that Frenchie has just been speaking of to ensure that our cannabis appellation system is integrous to terroir. And so the provisions that are put forward is that in order for a crop to qualify for appellation of origin, it must be planted in the ground, in open air, flowering under full sun. And it also introduces a city of origin designation, which is parallel to the county of origin, so that we also have the tool to really celebrate and bring that geographic indication recognition to our urban farmers. So we are extremely grateful to the senator and the assembly member. And I just want to really emphasize that this is a very, very strong coalition effort. And it is a complete honor to be working with all of my colleagues. We have submitted a letter of support for the bill with 16 organizations, cannabis advocacy organizations in the state of California, to support this bill. And it's an incredible show of solidarity and coalition to protect all of the things that Frenchie has so passionately spoken to.
Thank you so much, Janine.